Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You guys sent in some really interesting articles and reports this time around, all about the future of Korean dramas and movies.
Seems like everyone's wondering what's next.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz, right? Like Korean content is having this huge moment globally, but then these articles are talking about some big changes happening behind the scenes.
Definitely some major shifts. And I think one of the biggest things we need to look at is this Netflix effect. One of the sources called it a turning point, like a before and after moment for Korean entertainment.
Okay, the Netflix effect. Sounds kind of ominous. Can you break that down a bit more? What exactly does that mean for Korean dramas and movies?
Well, it's not just about, Netflix coming to Korea and making Squid Game a global phenomenon.
Right, yeah.
It's actually reshaped the whole landscape of how productions are made. Budgets, casting, even what kinds of stories get told.
Okay, so it's a much bigger deal than just streaming numbers.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
really changed the game.
So let's dig into that. What are some of the biggest ways Netflix has shaken things up?
I think the first thing is that it's blurred the lines between film and TV. You see big name movie actors and directors working on dramas, and vice versa, because Netflix doesn't really care about those distinctions the way traditional broadcasters do.
It's all just content to them, right?
Exactly. It's all about what's going to attract subscribers.
Makes sense. What else has changed?
The other huge thing is money. The average budget for a Korean drama has basically doubled since 2021. We're talking like 2 billion Korean won per episode now.
Whoa, 2 billion won an episode. That's a whole lot of money being poured into these productions. So does that mean we're only going to see big budget action or fantasy stuff from now on?
It's definitely giving a leg up to those kinds of shows, and it makes you wonder what happens to the smaller, more character-driven dramas that drew a lot of international fans in the first place. The ones that felt really unique and different.
Yeah, those slice of life stories, those romantic comedies, those really intimate dramas, will they still have a place in this new landscape?
That's the question, isn't it? Because this trend definitely benefits the established players, the big production companies, with the resources to make these mega hits. But for anyone new trying to break into the industry, it's a huge barrier.
Yeah, because you need a ton of money just to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And speaking of barriers, one of the sources mentioned the decline of web dramas, which seems kind of counterintuitive considering how popular Korean content is overall.
It's true. Web dramas were booming a decade ago. Companies like Playlist and Why Not Media were getting millions of views on Facebook, YouTube. Remember Cock TV?
Oh yeah. Cock TV was how I first got into Korean web dramas. I love that it felt so fresh and experimental. What happened?
Well, the source said both Playlist and Why Not Media are struggling financially now, and the whole web drama market has shrunk.
So, as the industry focuses on these bigger, more expensive productions, the smaller, more experimental stuff is getting squeezed out.
That seems to be the trend. And it's a shame because web dramas were a great entry point for new talent, like a stepping stone for writers, directors, actors to get experience and build their portfolio.
Right, it was a way to experiment, take risks, try new things without needing a massive budget, a proving ground for new voices.
Exactly. And we're also seeing this shift toward adapting existing intellectual property, like that show Parasite, The Gray, which was based on a Japanese manga.
So instead of original stories and new voices, it's safer to go with something that's already proven to be popular.
It seems that way, which makes you wonder if we're going to lose some of that creative spark, that willingness to try something different that made Korean content so exciting in the first place.
That's a really good point. It's
Yeah.
like everyone is putting their money on the sure thing.
Yeah.
But what about the up-and-coming talent? What about the people who have something new to say? Where do they go?
It's a big concern, and is something a few of the sources brought up. It's getting harder and harder for new talent to break into the industry.
Because there are fewer opportunities.
Yeah, but it's also that the path to those opportunities is shrinking. Like, the web drama market was a way to get your work seen, to build a following, to prove yourself, and that's fading away.
And on top of that, the industry itself is changing.
Right. The sources talked about how production companies and broadcasters are more separate now than they used to be, so there's less mentorship, less development within the traditional system.
Like before, rookies could learn by working alongside the more experienced professionals at a broadcasting company.
Exactly. But that's happening less and less.
So it's kind of a double whammy for new talent. Fewer opportunities and fewer ways to even get ready for those opportunities. That's a bit worrying.
It is, and it's not just happening in Korea either. It's a trend we're seeing across creative industries worldwide.
So the big question is, with all these changes, all this focus on global blockbusters and big budgets, is this success sustainable? One of the sources even asked, is this the peak of Korean content?
Now, that's the million-dollar question.
Right. I mean, on the one hand, Korean dramas and movies are hugely popular around the world right now.
No doubt about that.
I
But
like that.
yeah, there are some potential downsides to all this growth. And, the sources we looked at brought up some interesting points about the financial side of things, too.
Oh, right. Like what's happening with the companies actually making all these films and shows? Are they feeling the pressure too?
Definitely. Even some of the big visual effects studios like Dexter and Westworld, the
Wow.
ones who've worked on some of the biggest Korean blockbusters, they're reporting losses.
Wow, if the big guys are struggling, that's got to be a bad sign for the smaller studios.
Absolutely. The smaller studios are getting hit from all sides. Budgets are getting tighter, and now they're facing competition from AI technology.
Hold on, AI making movies now. That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It might sound futuristic, but it's already happening. AI is being used for things like generating background visuals, cleaning up footage, even doing some animation.
So does that mean that like robots are going to replace human artists and technicians?
It's not that simple. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used in different ways. It can definitely automate some tasks that humans used to do, which could lead to some job losses, but it could also open up new possibilities.
Right. Like AI can make filmmaking more accessible to independent creators who don't have huge budgets.
Exactly. Imagine being able to create those big, amazing visual effects without needing a whole team of specialists.
That would be a game changer. It sounds like there are both pros and cons to think about with AI.
Definitely. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out, how the industry adapts, and whether they find that balance, between the benefits of AI and protecting the artists and technicians.
Definitely a lot to unpack there. And, while we're talking about potential shakeups in the industry, we have to talk about the possible merger of Waze and Tithing.
Right. Big news. The source said they're in talks to combine, and that could have a major impact on the whole Korean entertainment scene.
What would a merger like that mean for, the people making the content and for us, the viewers?
Well, for one thing, it means less competition. Right now, both Wave and TVing are competing for content, which gives production companies more options. If those two become one giant platform, they could end up dictating terms to everyone.
So less competition isn't always a good thing.
It can be tricky. Sometimes competition forces companies to be more creative, to take risks, and to offer better deals. If one platform becomes too powerful, it could stifle innovation.
And maybe lead to fewer diverse stories being told?
Exactly. They might just focus on the big-budget surefire hits, and that could squeeze out the smaller, more unique voices.
It really feels like this is a make-or-break moment for the Korean entertainment industry. There's so much potential, but also these big forces at play that could really change things.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking at the same time. Like, Korean content is at a crossroads.
And what happens here could have ripple effects for other creative industries around the world.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating case study, and I think everyone's watching to see what happens next.
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it? We've talked about the Netflix effect, the decline of web dramas, those visual effects studios struggling, AI even.
And don't forget that potential merger between Wave and Treeving.
Right. That could be huge. But now it's time to hear from you guys. What are your takeaways from all this? What really stood out to you?
Here's something to think about. Could this be a preview of what's in store for other creative industries around the world? Are we all heading toward a future where only the biggest players survive?
It's like Korean entertainment is this fascinating test case. It's showing us both the incredible possibilities and the potential pitfalls of going global.
Exactly. And it raises some really important questions about how we protect creativity and innovation in a world that's increasingly dominated by these massive platforms and corporations.
So what do you think? Where do you see Korean content going from here? Will it keep breaking records and topping charts?
Yeah.
Or will the focus on global blockbusters mean we lose some of that unique spark that made it so special in the first place?
There's no easy answer, but that's what makes this so interesting, right? We're all kind of figuring it out together as we go.
And that's what we're here for. To explore these questions, to dig into the complexities, and to hopefully spark some good conversations along the way.
So keep thinking, keep watching, and most importantly, keep those questions coming.
Because, as we've seen, the future of Korean content, and maybe even the future of global entertainment, is still being written.
And we're all part of that story.
Until next time, happy deep diving.
Bye.